Hey everyone, today I'm going to be giving you a closer look at one small step can change your life and one small book can change your life. This is The Kaizen Way by Robert Maurer, PhD, and this book has been absolutely fabulous. I highly recommend that you check it out and read it. So the Kaizen method concentrates on continual progress a little bit at a time. I came to this book just feeling frustrated with a lot of things out there about big radical change. You need to have goals so large that they scare you, and a lot of things that just didn't resonate with me, because for me, so many things are not about the end goal and getting to that point and that goal at the end, but I like to live my life in the process, in the journey. I like to love where I'm at and love what I'm doing every step of the way. And this is just really, really simple steps for change that stick with you. So it's not about going out and setting crazy goals, but it's about developing structures and habits in your life so that you are changing your life in tiny steps all the time and progressively becoming a new creature altogether. Change that really lasts. So let's take a closer look inside the book. When I pick up a book, I like to look through what are the chapter headings and things like that first. The chapters are broken down into why Kaizen works, ask small questions, think small thoughts, take small actions, solve small problems, bestow small rewards, identify small moments, and Kaizen for life. The book is laid out really simply and straightforward. It's an easy read that's really enjoyable and so easy to take principles in here and start applying to your life immediately. In fact, there's tons of little tips in here for ways that you can take some of these moments and apply. I think the most important part for me was not breaking down into how to do this and get into all the different ways of Kaizen, but actually looking at the theory itself and an introduction to it in the beginning, so I could really wrap my head around the thought process behind Kaizen and why it works so well. I'm going to turn to some of my favorite passages in here. This quote that's in the book by John Wooden, who is one of the most successful coaches in the history of college basketball. He said, "When you improve a little each day, eventually big things occur. When you improve conditioning a little each day, eventually you have big improvement in conditioning. Not tomorrow, not the next day, but eventually a big gain is made. Don't look for the big, quick improvements. Seek the small improvement one day at a time. That's the only way it happens, and when it happens, it lasts." I agree with this so much, and I feel like when we focus on those big, visible improvements, we kind of miss the goal, and sometimes we might get frustrated and stop doing what we're doing altogether, or think, I tried and I failed. I tried and it didn't work. But we actually just didn't give it enough time to work. It's kind of like a principle of, working out and then going and weighing yourself on the scale immediately, or working out and then taking before and after pictures on Monday and then on Friday, expecting to see huge changes. It's not that your exercises that you're doing aren't making a difference. It's just that they're slowly making a difference, but strength and development and body change is something that happens slowly over time. However, if you don't take those steps to be working out every single day, you'll never get there. So every single day, each step is vital and important, and you will see those big changes eventually. It's happening slowly and steadily. So when we're focusing on trying to make huge leaps, we can miss the point. Or you might say, like, you get up and run a marathon one day and then don't exercise for 2 months. Has that really benefited you to run that marathon if you're not keeping it up? Where this system is about slow steps, changing yourself a little bit at a time. And I like what he says there, when it happens, it lasts. When we want to change, we don't just want to stick with something, but this happens a lot with fads. We get stuck on something, we're working on something, we get all excited, we're all in, and then we burn ourselves out, we're sick of it, and we stop. And all that progress that we gained in whatever area is just kind of lost, and we forget about it. Sometimes we get so excited about having this huge change that we're all in and we're working hard like crazy, and we get to this point where we think, do I even want to be doing this thing at all? Whereas everything that you do with Kaizen is so so intentional and you're so clear on why you're doing this and developing yourself in this way. It makes so much more sense to me to operate in this way, because I can be a very highly motivated person, but sometimes I plunge all in and go too deep and will be driving myself crazy trying to do this thing that I'm not even sure if I want to do, because I'm not stopping to analyze how it's affecting my life or applying it in my life in little small steps. So part of the way that I've been trying to focus over like the past years, I've been changing and developing, Kaizen fits right in there. So here's another quote on Kaizen versus innovation. Kaizen and innovation are the two major strategies people use to create change. Where innovation demands shocking and radical reform, all Kaizen asks is that you take small, comfortable steps towards improvement. And yes, those steps can be comfortable. I want to look at some myths that they address, really getting into the book. There's good stuff right from the get-go in the beginning. There's a couple of myths that are addressed at the very beginning. Myth number 1 is change is hard. Haven't you been told this? Change is hard. It's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be uncomfortable. It's supposed to be frightening, right? It's supposed to scare you how much you want something, but it's so hard to get there. But actually, change taken in small, simple steps can be so easy. This book gives so many examples about how making life changes can be easy taken in small steps, but it's not steps where you step and slide back. You continuously moving forward. So when you're on this continual path towards where you want to go, and that isn't too hard. I think in our society, in our life these days, small changes can really be played down. Oh, that little thing, that's not going to make a difference. Bigger is better. Go big or go home, etc. So in our bigger is better culture of IMAX movies, supersized meals, and extreme makeovers, it's hard to believe that small steps can lead to big changes. But the wonderful reality is that they can. Myth number 2, the size of the step determines the size of the result. So take big steps for big results. Whereas the Kaizen method is all about small, incremental changes. Myth number 3 is Kaizen is slow, innovation is quicker. Sometimes we're so quick to want to get to that fast result rather than that big actual change that's really going to last. Sometimes when we're so focused on accomplishing these huge goals, we're actually not living and enjoying life. I felt like right now was a great time to talk about this book. We're currently in COVID-19, where we're stuck at home and forced to slow down. And normally I would be going nuts. But over the past year, I've been trying to slow down, focus on what's important, and think about what it truly means to live rather than constantly trying to get things done. So I was really itching to get out of that hustler mentality, and this book has really helped me. And all of the ideas that I felt like, oh, but I'm kind of torn between these, they have sustained me and reminded me of what's really important, and that slow change and growth and adjusting my life slightly over time is really going to lead me to where I want to go. And right now I just feel like we're learning what it truly means to live by taking away the hustle, the commute. Yes, we have to work from home, but we're all here together. We're getting the schooling done that we need to, the work done that we need to, and the rest of the time is all about living, reading, being together, enjoying times, going for walks. And it kind of makes you wonder about all those things that you had to do, if you really had to do them, and if they were really important at all. Maybe my favorite chapter in this book is focusing on why Kaizen works. And it does work. It's perfectly logical and straightforward. Everything is so simple and laid out so easily in this book. All changes, even positive ones, are scary. Attempts to reach goals through radical or revolutionary means often fail because they heighten fear. And sometimes we're encouraged, if you're not dreaming this big or you don't have a goal this big that it scares you, it's not big enough. I've heard that so many times and I'm like, Doesn't even make sense. Fear will keep you from actually getting there. But the small steps of Kaizen disarm the brain's fear response, stimulating rational thought and creative play. I know for me, I want to, as I'm reaching towards goals, I want to work from a place of creativity, not from a place of fear. Our human brains see change as frightening. We are resistant to change. That's how it is. But if we can make change so simple and so not scary and aggressive that it's just easy, then we can find ourselves changing so much more rather than having this fight or flight response to change. And that's what Kaizen is all about. So he breaks it down this way. A large goal leads to fear, which leads to access to cortex being restricted, and then failure. And yes, you can learn from failure, but if we take a look at another approach here through Kaizen, small goal leads to fear being bypassed, leads to your cortex being engaged, and then to success. That sounds better to me. And yes, this is suggesting that rather than trying to take big, huge leaps, you just take small steps. That might be frustrating for some people at first, but those small steps can become the giant leaps. Your brain is programmed to resist change, but by taking small steps, you effectively rewire your nervous system so that it does the following. Unsticks you from a creative block. How many times when we're working so hard and we have so much initiative do we end up getting these creative blocks for something that we love and we're naturally good at, but then we get blocked up? Bypasses the fight or flight response, creates new connections between neurons so that the brain enthusiastically takes over the process of change and you progress rapidly towards your goal. So it speeds you up and has you moving more quickly towards your goal because it eliminates some of these fear responses that happen when we're trying to take huge leaps. Another thing that I really love about this is in the Kaizen method, you're constantly evaluating yourself. So we're asking small questions about a problem or something we want to change. We're taking small actions. We're solving small problems. We're not ignoring problems as they come up, but we're looking at them and solving them. And we're bestowing small rewards. I love the whole idea of solving small problems. So many times when we become ambitious and we just want that thing and we're working towards it, we can block out or ignore small problems. And then we end up with big problems and we wonder, how did I get here? How did I not see this coming? But sometimes we blind ourselves to that because we want something so badly. But the Kaizen method doesn't work that way. In the chapter 5 about solving small problems, he says, we're so accustomed to living with minor annoyances that it's not always easy to identify them, let alone make corrections. But these annoyances have a way of acquiring mass and eventually blocking your path to change. By training yourself to spot and solve small problems, you can avoid undergoing much more painful remedies later. I'd rather get ahead of it and spot problems and issues when they're small, rather than when they're really big. Okay, I love this section because it's so applicable. It's broken down into a couple of steps here. First, recall a mistake that you've made at some point in your life. Now, take some time to consider whether there were small signs along the way indicating that things were not going according to plans or wishes. What measures did you have to take to correct the problem? Did you halt your assembly line and start all over? Did you ignore the problem in the hopes that you would achieve your results on time anyway? How many times when you're moving along or when you end up in a huge problem do you think, man, there were these warning signs all along the way that I missed? Number 2, identify one small mistake that you've made today without becoming angry with yourself or for making this mistake. This simple act, especially if you perform it daily, will raise your awareness of small mistakes. And it's not making us feel ashamed of small mistakes that we're making in our life. It's rather we're searching for them because we want to be aware of them. Number 3, ask yourself whether the small mistake you identified in exercise 2 reflects a larger problem, or if it has the potential to gather velocity. If you misplaced your car keys, for example, ask yourself if you are trying to juggle too many things at once, or are so distracted that you might eventually make a more serious mistake. By paying attention to this mistake, you will reduce its frequency. If you feel this mistake indicates a more significant problem in your life, ask yourself, what Kaizen step can I take to correct this situation? Your new awareness alone reduces the probability that you will make this mistake again, but you should also ask yourself whether this mistake is part of a bigger problem. If you can peg the error to a larger issue, you'll give yourself further incentive to work on it. If we really want to change, we have to be really honest with ourselves, and we can't be in denial about who we are and issues that we have. We have to see the true issues and get down to the heart of it. It's all about self-acceptance without shaming or blaming yourself. So we're not changing because we hate the person that we are. We're changing because we always want to evolve to be better and to be our best. So this is a very positive way for change. And we're not diving in and trying to change as quickly as possible because we can't stand ourselves as we are. We're trying to take small steps along the way, evaluating ourselves and being honest as we go so that we can become the very best version of ourselves in every different way that we're trying to change. We are constantly improving, one little element at a time. We're looking at a larger problem or something we're working on or addressing things in our lives and saying, what tiny small step can I take towards positive change and improvement today? Also, this book gives you permission to take small steps, like stupidly small, embarrassingly small steps. Steps that you know there is no possible reason why I can't do that. So there's an example about someone wanting to change their health and life and fitness, but they're very busy, single mother. I can't remember all of the things behind it, but it would have been really easy for this doctor to tell her, you need to exercise 5 days a week for 30 minutes at a time. But this woman was in a place where that was not easy, and that was very daunting to just start there. And even though we might think, sure, I've got 30 minutes, I can exercise, but if you haven't been doing that at all, to just jump from 0 minutes of exercise to 30 minutes every single day can be very, very difficult when you haven't built that habit. So there's this process that this woman takes, following this doctor's advice, to every day commit to standing on her treadmill that she has at home. She has at home, and it's gathering clothes rather than being used, to going and standing on that treadmill for like 1 minute or something every single day. Well, yeah, that's so stupidly easy. Of course I can do that, to go stand on the treadmill. But how is that helping, right? But she goes and does that. And then pretty soon the resistance to actually getting up and getting on the treadmill is gone. And then it just becomes this natural process to walk for a couple of minutes. And then it's longer, and then it's longer. So the advice is to start really small, stupidly small. So if you want to read more or something like that, I find myself in this place where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to read 30 minutes every single day, but when I haven't booked that out for myself and I haven't made it a practice and I haven't set a set time, it is really easy for things to come up and for those 30 minutes to go somewhere else. But if I set a small goal that every single day I'm going to read 1 page of a book, then every day I'm at least going to read 1 page. And a lot of those days, I will probably go on to read 5 or maybe a chapter. Maybe I'll read for an hour. But it's that commitment, that small step of saying, I'm going to read 1 page every single day, and then you grow from there. You eliminate the resistance, the excuses, the fear behind it, anything that might be holding you back, and you just make a commitment, a stupidly simple step that you're going to do something, and you do it. Kaizen is all about very slow change and improving for the better. Looking at yourself, looking at any situation and saying, what's one small step I can make? Choose one goal and go slowly, and you will make progress. So this entire book and this whole method argues against the idea that big, huge changes need to happen. Change comes by small, simple steps towards good, positive change. And this is also a very simple method to make habits stick. You develop systems and habits in your life rather than focusing on some goal or end goal or trying to achieve one small thing and then getting frustrated along the way and never reaching it. This is about slowly changing yourself as a creature, one small step at a time, developing systems and habits. I know in my experience, the small changes and small steps that I've been taking are the ones that I've stuck with and that have led to eventual huge change. But sometimes we get skeptical of that and we believe in these myths that this book addresses. But if you can look at those ideas that it has to be big or else it's not going to go anywhere, and if it's not big and fast, it's going to take forever and not really work, you can really address that as the Kaizen method suggests, then you can break that down and start making changes in your life. So one small step can change your life, and one simple method applying little by little in your life can really change as well. In some cases, for some readers, I think this book could be a major game changer, and I highly recommend that you read it. I hope that you found this review to be helpful. If you're interested in purchasing this book, you can find a link on Amazon for it in my write-up below. Let me know if you read this and what your thoughts are on it. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you can think of another book that you think I should read, let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.